Thank you very much for your time today, Kemi. Today you've announced your party will begin examining options for leaving the ECHR. Why do you think that might be a necessary thing to do?
We've been trying to do a lot of things as a shadow cabinet. We have a deportation bill, for example, which we've put out, really tightening up our policies on migration. But the Shadow Home Secretary says that he doesn't think it can be delivered unless we leave the ECHR. So, and many other shadow ministers have said this to me. So we have now got our lawyer, Lord Wolfson, to look at the situation and tell us not whether to leave or not, but whether we can do certain things like deport foreign criminals, like make sure our veterans and our soldiers aren't harassed by vexatious legal cases, and how we would leave the ECHR, how we would make sure, whether we had a replacement, what the unintended consequences might be. It's not a simple thing. So we've got to really think carefully about how we do this.
This isn't something that everyone in your party necessarily agrees on. Do you think there's a risk this could split the party like Brexit did?
I think there are always policies that not everybody agrees on. But I do things because I believe they're the right thing to do. It's not about whether we can get everyone agreed. We tried that, and all that happened is the government wasn't really moving. We'd have these boring announcements and just tweaks here and there. I want to do something really bold to fix what's wrong with this country. I think only radical action is going to make sure that we deport all foreign criminals. Only radical action is going to make sure that we can actually build infrastructure instead of it taking decades because of endless legal arguments and so on. Let's be bold, let's be radical.
And you said today that you'll be reporting back with further detail at party conference. Do you not have a personal view on this topic? I
do have a personal view. I used to think that we could reform it, and then I saw so many attempts to do so, not least the 9 countries in the EU who were rebuffed just last week. And now I think that we likely will need to leave. And I said this even during the leadership contest, that I do think that if we need to leave, we leave. But we leave with a plan. We're not just going to leap into the unknown. We're going to make sure we're ready. If we have to leave, let's do it properly and not make a hash of things.
Should you decide to take the position that Britain should leave the ECHR, would the next general election be a referendum on that issue? And how would you communicate it to voters?
It's very hard to say what the next general election is going to be about. When we won an 80-seat majority in 2019, who would have guessed what would happen in 2024? Nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody saw the war in Ukraine and all of the spikes in energy prices coming. So what I'm saying is that we are making all of the plans that we need for the problems that we see now, but we're also trying to think ahead about what could happen in the future. The next general election could be a referendum on anything, but on the ECHR, people are going to know where we stand and exactly what it is we're going to do and how. No surprises.
Do you have any reaction to the shock resignation of Zia Yusuf?
I thought it was actually illustrative of what reform is. I often tell people, I have many friends who like what they hear from reform, and I tell them that it's not really a political party in the sense the Conservative Party is. It's more like a fan club. The truth is that Zia Yusuf spent most of the last year, in fact, well over the last year, a lot of his money, a lot of his time trying to get reform elected, and now he says it's a waste of time. This is just following on from the expulsion of Rupert Lowe and the ridiculous thing of them reporting him to the police. This is a farce. This is not serious. There's only one serious party on the right, and that is the Conservatives.
What's your strategy for tackling reform? Do you think it's working at the moment?
The strategy has just begun. We needed to, first of all, make sure that we can fix some problems in-house. That's not something that the public is going to be interested in. But my strategy has always been clear. We need to make sure that we're the best product. This is a very competitive political environment. We have threats from Labour, we have threats from the Liberal Democrats, we have threats from Reform. That's going to require quite a lot of nimble navigation, but I'm pretty confident that we can do it.
At PMQs this week, the PM accused you of echoing Kremlin propaganda. Does he echo Hamas propaganda?
I think what he actually said was Kremlin propaganda. I was absolutely shocked that he said that on the floor of the House. No Labour leader has done that. Well, actually, Jeremy Corbyn did that. He's the next Labour leader to do that. It's quite shocking. I wouldn't say that he repeats Hamas propaganda. Hamas's propaganda is about a genocide. I don't believe that there is a genocide taking place in Gaza. But I do think that the letter that the Prime Minister wrote to Prime Minister Netanyahu was not helpful in dealing with the situation. We need to focus on the hostages who are still being held captive.
And one final question. What do you make of the group of your MPs who have called for the Palestinian statehood to be recognised?
I think a two-state solution is what many people want to see. I've always talked about a two-state solution. What I do not want to see is a terrorist state being created. Hamas is a terrorist organization. If we rush to a two-state solution now, we're creating a terrorist state. I do not want to see that.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.